I'm your host, Sean MacKenzie. Thank you for joining me once again on my channel on data analytics and data engineering. This week, we're going to return to our Python playlist, and we're going to talk about how to use the if statement, if else, if then else, all those kind of things that we're going to do in Python, and how to write your if then else statements, and also how to use elif, which is sort of elsif, and so that you can use this statement in your code to control your program flow. So without further ado, let's get to our if statements. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just start a new file from our idle shell. This is from the default installation of Python that you can get from python.org, and I'll add some comment at the top here just to say that this demonstrates the if then else statement. And we're going to do a very simple country comparison for our video, just to say here's our country's variable is equal to Canada, and if the country is equal to France, then do the following. And to do that, we put a colon at the end. And so we'll print a statement, and you have to make sure that you put the indent after the colon. It's very important because Python does depend on the structure of the statement that you put in, so it has to have the indent for the code block after the colon and the if statement. So we'll say print the country found is France, and then else colon print the country is not France. And so then we can evaluate what our country variable is. And as we can see, here's our output in our idle shell saying the country is not France because our country variable was actually Canada. So we can also use the elif statement, which says else if. So if we have another condition that we want to check as well in our if statement, we can say elif the country is equal to Canada, then we can say the country found is Canada. And so that gives us a chance to add one more condition into our else statement without having to use the else statement, which we'll put at the end, which is like the catch-all for everything else. So we could evaluate two conditions and then say, okay, if those two aren't met, then do the else condition, which is a catch-all for everything else. And in this case, we would say print the country is not France and not Canada. And we could test our new condition by saving and pressing F5 to run it, and you can see that it did find the country found is Canada, and that sort of evaluates our uses our second statement inside of there, or second condition inside of there. And we could test it further by saying, the country is Spain that we found, and then we could run that through our logic just like we did the previous one. And we could hit F5, and that'll tell us the country is not France and it is not Canada. Now we could simplify this statement. This is using two conditions here, but we could say, using our variable there, we could say if the country is equal to France or the country is equal to Canada, then with the colon, then we could print our statement that we have in front of us here. However, in order to accommodate both cases of that, we would have to insert our variable, and we could do that by concatenating a string, and that will allow us to try another condition or another case of this. We could say country is equal to France, and then we could use that instead of the original. And we could have one last look over this and see, oh, there we go, there's I'll put a quote around that one. So that's going to finish our concatenation, and then we can hit save and hit F5, and then you can see what happens in the output screen here. It says the country found is France, which satisfied our OR condition of Canada, or France or Canada, and that's exactly what we want to see there. But what if we wanted a whole bunch of conditions that or, we could say or Canada or this or that. If we had a whole bunch of those, then we can use a nice little condition called in, and that will allow us to use to make a list of countries that satisfy our condition, or entries that satisfy our condition. And so we could say if country in, and then Canada, or France, Canada, Spain, Belgium, then we can compare to that list and say if it's any one of those, then do print the command in the next inside of the if statement. Now keep in mind, you can have a huge block of code in that where that print is to do a whole bunch of things depending on what happens. So you're not limited to just one statement. You can do a whole bunch of things there, and you can do the same in the else. And so if we hit F5 on that, then we can see country found is Belgium, and that was according to our if then statement saying we had Belgium as our country, and it satisfied the condition because it was in the list. And if we put Greece in and we hit F5 and run it, then we get the country is not in the list. And so that's exactly what we want to see in our if then statement. And we can make we can add a little bit more complexity to our example. We can say that a variable day is equal to Tuesday, and then we can also use we can say and as well as or. And so we could say if the country is equal to Greece and the day is equal to Tuesday, then do the following. And then we could say the country found is equal to country, and the day is Tuesday. So we could change our concatenation by saying and then today is equal to, or today is, and then the day variable, and that'll give us the output that we want to see if that condition is met. And then we could also change our else statement saying, if the first condition is not met, then we would say, something like the conditions have not been met by this statement. So conditions are not met, and that will allow us to run it again. And first of all, we'll check it over and see if there's I got to put is equal on our equals there, and that's going to allow us to run it. And we'll put an equal on there and an equal is equal on there. And so if the country is equal to Greece and the day is equal to Tuesday, then here are the conditions. So if we hit F5, then we can see the country found is Greece and today is Tuesday. But if we change, say we change the day and we change it to Wednesday, well then it's not going to meet that condition. So if we hit F5 on that and see what we get, it says our conditions are not met. And that's exactly what we want to see in that case. And in the same way that we made the example more complex before, we can do the same thing here, and we could add an elif statement, an elif, and that will allow us to have an else if some other complex condition happens. So you could have as many of these elif statements as you'd like to capture diverse conditions. You could say if country is equal to France and the day is equal to Thursday, then say something different. In this case, it might be that we say that some special condition was met, just like we have up above, but we'll actually say it this time. So if the country is equal to France and the day is equal to Thursday, then we'll say a special condition was met, and that could be some crazy thing. And like I said before, in each of these places that you see our print statement, you could do a big block of code that does all kinds of things, that updates tables and or changes, updates the user interface or whatever. It's not just a single statement that you can put in there, you can put a whole code block. And so that's going to allow us to have some complexity in our if then else. And so we could test this by going and changing our inputs. So we could say the country is equal to something else. Say we put France back in there, and we put Thursday into our day just to test the second condition. And then we could save that, and we could hit F5, and that's gonna give us a different output. And as you can see, special condition was met, and that's how you do if then else in Python. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion about how to use if then else in Python. And if you enjoyed what you saw today, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet, and make sure to click the bell when you see the bell so that you'll be notified of any new content that I put up on the channel. And if you have any questions or comments about what you saw today, please make sure to put them in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Have a great day, have a safe day, and I'll catch you next time.